What is up, everybody? Matt Modi here to give you some NBA player prop bangers. We are talking the Wednesday NBA betting slate, October 23rd. So the splash zone is going to be for tomorrow's games, depending on when you're watching this. Wednesday, October 23rd. I am getting ahead of this, recording my picks for tomorrow before the Tuesday night games are being played. So depending on when you're watching this, it's either tomorrow or today. But regardless, these plays are for Wednesday. Because I'm recording this before Tuesday's games have been played, I don't have a Tuesday recap for you guys. Starting on Thursday, I'm going to record these the day of, and then I'm going to do daily recaps. What I do have for you is my data from last year, which was a really, really good season. Up over 118 units of profit, up over 15% ROI on our NBA player prop picks last year. Hopefully, we can continue the success last year that we had this year. Hopefully, that already started on Tuesday. Hopefully you're watching this after a nice Tuesday sweep. If we had a bad day, no problem. I played it light on purpose. But regardless, we're looking at the Wednesday betting slate. Huge slate of games that we have for Wednesday. I generally play the beginning of the season pretty light because we're still trying to learn about the new year, the new teams and stuff like that. So if you're expecting a bunch of bangers, I only have 3 for you guys, one of which is being laddered. So it's 3 mainline plays, 1 ladder play. Gonna have 4 plays total that we're all locking in. Really, really like what we have on the board. So let's get into it. Play number 1, and this is our ladder play as well, is Ja Morant and his assist prop. So we're taking Ja Morant over 7.5 assists, minus 128 odds at FanDuel. I'm putting a full unit on that bad boy. So technically it's risking 1.28 units to win 1 unit. And then I'm also laddering Ja Morant up to 10 plus assists, which you can get at plus 220 odds at DraftKings. So it's a full unit on 8+, it's a half unit on 10+, regardless. I absolutely love this play on Ja Morant and his assist prop. Now, I admittedly don't love the minus 128 odds, but I think this is a smash play on Ja Morant and his assists. So, you know, for every once in a while, I'm cool drinking this type of juice for plays like this. And there are just so many reasons to like this play for Ja Morant. So let's talk about it. Number 1, he only played in 9 games last year, was very, very good as a playmaker in the 9 games that he played last year. He, again, only played 9 games. He went over 7.5 assists in 6 of those 9 games. He hit it in 6 of 9 games. That's very nice. He actually hit 10 or more assists in 3 separate games, and then one time he got to 9. So of the 6 times that he went over, 4 of which he went over by even more than 1 assist. So really, really good season from there. And if you look at the games in which he went under, there were 3 of them. 2 of them, he had exactly 7 assists. Now, obviously, that is still considered an under, but that would have just hooked us on the mainline play. And if you just want to take a step back and summarize everything, in the 9 games that Ja Morant played last year, he got to at least 7 assists in 8 of those 9 games. And that just tells you that's a very, very good floor going off last year's data for us, looking for him to get to 8 tonight. Overall, he averaged 8.1 assists per game, but that's not the most important number. The most important number is that he averaged 15.8 potential assists per game, and that would have given him, on average, the 4th most potential assists per game last year. Obviously, he only played in 9 games, but still, in the games that he played, did a great job passing the ball, getting assists, and more importantly, getting potential assists. So we've already kind of highlighted that Morant was a good passer. Now it's time to dive into the matchup for him against the Utah Jazz. Last year, the Jazz allowed quite literally the most assists per game to point guards in the NBA. Literally number 1 in terms of point guard assists allowed. According to props.cash, they were also the best matchup for point guard assist props as well. And that's important, right? Because, you know, if books had caught on that the Jazz allow a ton of assists to point guard, that would not have necessarily made them the best matchup for point guard assist props as well, but they were number 1 in both. And the reason why, there are a couple reasons, but the reason why the Jazz are such a good matchup for point guard assists is because of the way they play defense, right? They're pretty aggressive in their defense. They don't have anybody that can really protect the rim that well. Walker Kessler was very disappointing last year. They also don't have a ton of great individual one-on-one defenders as well. So what they do is send a lot of help, send a lot of double teams, which leaves players open to shoot and catch and shoot opportunities from the corner, or leads the pick and roll man. So you're running a pick and roll, the roll man to be open for baskets that way. And because the Jazz have essentially the same coaching staff and a very similar roster, the guess is that we can go off of last year's data and that it's going to be true once again this year. It's not true for every single team, but there are situations where that was the case. So to give you some data to back up what I'm saying here is last year the Jazz allowed the 5th fewest points per game via drives, meaning when players drive to the basket, they didn't score a lot on the Jazz. Jazz were also middle of the pack in terms of points allowed to pick and roll ball handlers. With that said, they allowed the 5th most points per game specifically to the pick and roll man, and they allowed the 4th most catch and shoot 3-point attempts as well. The reason why roll man and catch and shoot opportunities are so important is because those are all plays that a made basket is coming off of an assist. If the roll man is scoring, it's because the ball handler passed the ball to the roll man. If someone is attempting a catch and shoot 3-pointer, he had to catch the ball and shoot. That is an assisted opportunity. So all those stats are assisted opportunities, and they're all in line with how Ja Morant plays. He runs a ton of pick and rolls. He drives to the rack a ton. He's not really a shooter at this point in his career. Maybe he'll turn himself into one. He hasn't yet, but he drives and he dishes a lot. And all this data going back from last year, a huge addition for the Grizzlies. A is just getting their team back, considering their entire team was hurt last year, but it's also the draft addition of Zach Edey that the Grizzlies added in the draft. Zach Edey gives Ja Morant a phenomenal pick and roll partner, I should say, a phenomenal role partner to run the pick and roll with, which is just going to lead, hopefully he doesn't get fouled a ton, but it's just going to lead to a ton of assist opportunities for Ja Morant. So for those of you that are looking for an honorable mention, I do really like Zach Edey points as well. I think that is a solid play if you wanted to go that route. I liked the Ja Morant assists better, obviously, which is why I made that my official play, but for an honorable mention, I think that Zach Edey is solid. So that's play number 1, along with our ladder play. Now we're just having 2 remaining plays that are straight up each. And I will say, reminder to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are not already. Obviously, that stuff helps me out a ton. Hopefully, you are doing that. And for all you new viewers, I've already done that. But just click that subscribe button. Play number 2, we're heading to the Bucks versus 76ers game. And we are taking Tyrese Maxey, 4+ made 3-pointers, plus 120 odds at bet365. I absolutely love this play on Maxey to make 4+ made 3-pointers. I liked it when Embiid, before he got ruled out. I still like it, even though the fact that Embiid is ruled out. I just think that this is a phenomenal play on Tyrese Maxey in a phenomenal matchup. For those of you that are new to my channel, there are certain matchups that we target whenever these teams play. One of the matchups that we targeted is the Bucks and point guard 3-point props against the Bucks. The reason why is because of their defensive scheme, and they have the same head coach. They have very much the same roster. It's Doc Rivers. They're going to play a drop coverage on defense. So a guard's going to run a pick and roll, and unlike the Jazz, who are pretty aggressive guarding the pick and roll, the Bucks just have their center lay back. That creates a ton of pull up, a ton of above the break 3-point opportunities. And to give you the data to back that up, last year the Bucks allowed the second most pull-up 3-pointers allowed in the NBA, 11.3. They're one of only 2 teams that allowed more than 11 per game. The other team was the Celtics. And for those of you that watched my video for Tuesday's games, we're on Jalen Brunson point and 3-point props for that exact reason. Now, I like Maxey better as a 3-point play in this game as opposed to a points one. But it's very, very similar logic. The Bucks allow a ton of pull-up 3-point opportunities. Again, second most in the NBA last year. And they also allowed the second most above the break 3-point attempts as well. So they allowed a ton of these opportunities. And you look at Tyrese Maxey, he turned himself into a really, really good pick and roll ball handler and a really, really good pull-up shooter, but he hasn't quite gotten himself there as a playmaker yet. Again, maybe that'll change. I don't think that's going to change in a game without Joel Embiid. But if you look at last year's data, and I think he's if the preseason is any indication, his pull-up jump shot should be even better. But going off of last year's data, Maxey averaged the 9th most above the break 3-point attempts in the NBA and the 10th most pull-up 3-point attempts in the NBA. Obviously, the 9th most and the 10th most in the NBA. He led the Sixers by a wide margin in both of these categories as well. He also ran the 8th most pick and rolls per game and scored the 10th most points per game via the pick and roll as well. And the Bucks last year allowed the 2nd most points per game, to pick and roll ball handlers. Now, again, points could be a good play for Tyrese Maxey. But a lot of the points that the Bucks allowed, if it wasn't from a pull-up three-pointer, was from the mid-range. And Maxey is not quite a mid-range shooter. He either gets to the rim or he scores from three-point range. So that's why the three-pointers, I think, makes a lot more sense with Tyrese Maxey due to his shot profile. But I absolutely love this play. I put a half unit on this one because I am, like I said, playing most of these a little bit lighter as we're just trying to get data on these teams. But I think this is a really, really solid play. I love it, especially at the plus money price. When you're watching this, obviously the odds are going to be different. As long as you can get plus money for this, I would play it. That's play number 2, technically 3, but our second mainline play. And then our third and final pick of the video, I'm taking Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 3+ made three-pointers, plus 250 odds at FanDuel, or you can get it at plus 240 odds at Bet365, depending on when you're watching this. But I love this play on KCP. It's another system play. It's Magic versus Heat. And last year, 3-point specialists who were catch and shoot, spot up, hung to the corners, those players did really, really well against the Heat last year. And the Heat, similar to the Bucks, similar to the Jazz, same coaching staff, similar player profile, probably going to play the same way. Now, the Heat defensive philosophy, they don't let themselves get beat in the paint. If you look at their stats, they don't give up a lot of points in the paint. They also don't allow a lot of points to centers, which obviously those are correlated, but I mean, it helps when you have Bam Adebayo, but it is a defensive philosophy. They also, the Heat do, sell out to not let themselves get beat by the opposing team's number 1 option. Now, there's no data out there that tracks team number 1 option against defense, but it is a defensive philosophy from the Heat that's a SPO special. They don't let themselves get beat by the opposing team's best player. What that means is last year, the Heat allowed the 4th most corner three-point attempts in the NBA, the 6th most catch and shoot three-point attempts in the NBA, and overall allowed the 2nd most points via spot up. When you're spotting up, you're running off screens, you're standing in the corner, you're catching and shooting. That's what KCP does. That's what the Magic desperately needed. They needed more plus shooting in their starting lineup, right? Like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are very good players, but they don't shoot a ton. They're not at all volume shooters. Now, maybe they'll turn themselves into that, but they're definitely not yet. And looking at the Magic last year, they took the 10th fewest corner threes and the 9th fewest catch and shoot three-point opportunities. They just did not have a lot of plus shooters on the team. That's why they brought in KCP. Now, KCP is not quite the volume shooter like Klay Thompson, like Grayson Allen, but he was brought in to play defense and stand in the corner and shoot, and that's something that he can do very well. You know, Jalen Suggs turned himself into a pretty decent shooter for the Magic. He led the team in catch and shoot three-point opportunities last year and points via spot up. But the only other player on the Magic that really did any type of volume in spot up or in catch and shoot / corner threes was Gary Harris. And they were begging to get Gary Harris off the court. I mean, he has trouble staying healthy. They do not want to play Gary Harris. That's why they added KCP. So he's going to play a ton of minutes, and he's got a very, very important role on the team to help with spacing. So I think he's going to have the green light to shoot whenever he's open, and I think he's going to be open a decent amount. So I like the KCP three-point prop. Plus 250 for this is an absolute gift, in my opinion. Rounding out our third and final pick of the video. 3 guys that we are backing, 4 plays if you consider the latter play. But that's what we're rocking with for Wednesday. Hopefully we have a good day. Reminder to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are not already, and to like and comment on this specific video. And then if you're still here, the last thing that I'll mention is that I do have a dub club where I send all my plays out. $5 a month gets you everything that I am playing sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. As soon as I decide what a play is, the first thing I do is send it out to my dub club. So those people, if you don't care about watching the YouTube videos, or by the time you watch them, the odds have changed, I point those people to the dub club if that is a frustration point for you. Again, it's $5 a month. And if you're not interested in that, no problem, because you can still get everything for free on YouTube and on Twitter. But that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.